Edgar Cayce predicts the second coming. Edgar Cayce predicted in his readings that Jesus would return to Earth at some point in the future. In this video, I will explain how this will play out. But first, let's see how Jesus describes the events surrounding his return. Matthew 24. And as he sat on Mount Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" Jesus says, "When you, therefore, shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Then let them who are in Judea flee into the mountains, let him who is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him who is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe to those who are with child, and to those who nurse children in those days. But pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the select's sake those days shall be shortened." In the beginning of this passage, Jesus refers to the book of Daniel, which describes an invasion of the Middle East which results in the desecration of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. The prophet Ezekiel says that the invaders will come from the land of Gog and Magog, and that the invaders will come like a cloud upon the land. George Lamsa, who grew up in one of the few villages in the world where ancient Aramaic is still spoken, translates Gog and Magog as China and Mongolia. Edgar Cayce seems to agree with this translation in the following reading. If there is not the acceptance in America of the closer brotherhood of man, the love of the neighbor as self, civilization must wend its way westward, and again must Mongolia, must a hated people, be raised. Cayce is telling us here that if America loses its love of neighbor as self, then the Chinese will conquer the Middle East as Genghis Khan did in the 13th century. Years ago, I asked the great psychic, Lama Singh, who would be the invader of the Middle East mentioned in Daniel, and he said, "These will be the Chinese from the East. They are one of the 5 peoples of earth, and they will be the inhabitors or invaders. They will carry that force which is the destructive force which will clear and purify. Then they will be driven apart from, and they will suffer their own iniquities." After this invasion, Jesus tells us that there will be a great tribulation, a time of trouble such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the select's sake those days shall be shortened. Then Jesus says, "Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." The darkening of the sun and the moon is predicted in a half-dozen places in the Bible, in Isaiah, Joel, Zechariah, Luke, and Revelation. It is also mentioned in the Quran. The possibility of a pole shift seems to be implied when Jesus says that the powers of the heavens will be shaken. What are the powers of the heavens? In physics they are gravitation, rotation, and inertia. So, there will be some sort of dramatic earth change after the tribulation. Cayce tells us that the darkening of the sun and the moon will alert believers that the return of Jesus is near. As to the material changes that are to be as an omen, as a sign to those that this is shortly to come to pass, as has been given of old, the sun will be darkened and the earth shall be broken up in diverse places, and then shall be proclaimed, through the spiritual interception in the hearts and minds and souls of those that have sought his way, that his star has appeared, and will point the way for those that enter into the Holy of Holies in themselves. After the earth changes, Cayce says that Jesus will return to earth to rule for 1,000 years. "For he shall come as ye have seen him go, in the body he occupied in Galilee." The body that he formed, that was crucified on the cross, that rose from the tomb, that walked by the sea, that appeared to Simon, that appeared to Philip, that appeared to, even John. Question. When Jesus the Christ comes the second time, will he set up his kingdom on earth and will it be an everlasting kingdom? Read his promises in that ye have written of his words. He shall rule for 1,000 years. Question. Please explain what is meant by, he will walk and talk with men of every clime. As given, for 1,000 years he will walk and talk with men of every clime. Then in groups, in masses, and then they shall reign of the first resurrection for 1,000 years, for this will be when the changes materially come. He will not tarry, for having overcome he shall appear even as the Lord and Master. Not as one born, but as one that returneth to his own, for he will walk and talk with men of every clime, and those that are faithful and just in their reckoning shall be caught up with him to rule and to do judgment for 1,000 years. For more information go to my channel or go to 2026awakening.com.